Recently, the National Agriculture Statistics Service released the results from the latest Census of Agriculture. In this week's Bottom Line, Neil Melanson not only gives us a review, but Neil, I understand the census impacts more than just agriculture, but consumers as well.
Avery, as always, the Census of Agriculture is interesting. The one thing I should tell you about the census this year is that it is the 2007 census. That is, it started with the surveys back then, but was collecting data at least up until this fall. Now, the one thing we should say is there was a lot of growth, and not all of it was good in this census. The number of farms increased overall from the previous census by 100,000 to 2.2 million farms. However, the overall acreage went down considerably from 938 million acres to 922 million. Another area that went up was land value, the price per acre increasing nearly $600 to $1,892. Meanwhile, crop value has soared, some of this taking into account the huge price increase in 07-08, going up nearly $100 billion. However, paired with that is an increase in input costs, which went up $68 billion from the previous survey, felt in fuel and fertilizer prices. Something else that went up was the average age of farmers, which increased nearly 2 years. The number of farmers under 45 decreased 20% from the previous census as well. Now, the bottom line for this census is the same trend we've been seeing over the last few years. That is, fewer acres, fewer farmers, and less crop diversity. Now, although the number of farms did increase from the previous survey, that's a lot of small farms that primarily go for niche markets, weekend warriors, if you will. Nothing wrong with those farms, but it does highlight the disparity between the big farms and the little farms, squeezing out the guys in the middle. Now, what does this mean for consumers? Well, as farmers decrease in this country, that means that prices go up for consumers, especially when you start looking at those numbers of the large expenses we put into our crops in terms of input cost. That's the bottom line this week. I'm Neil Melanson. Back to you, Avery.
Neil, I'm hearing a lot of doom and gloom in there. Is there anything positive that you can point out?
Well, one thing we did see in this recent NASS survey was the increase in diversity. A lot more primary operators classified themselves as women or minorities, a big jump there. I think overall that will attract a lot more people of different backgrounds, especially and hopefully younger people, which we need to keep our U.S. farm sector strong in the long term.
Thanks, Neil, and remember, you don't have to wait for his bottom line reports to hear from Neil. You can listen to his daily reports on the Louisiana Farm Bureau radio network. For a list of stations in your neck of the woods where you can listen, click over to our website at twilatv.org. We'll have a list right there.